Hey everyone, welcome back. So, Pete Hoekstra, yeah, this guy again. He keeps telling Canadians and keeps trying to give the impression that the United States respects Canada, and that they respect us as a neighbor, an ally, and a sovereign country. But I actually just found out what he did on July 4th on Canadian soil. What he will probably say is that it's just a harmless 4th of July party. But this US ambassador used the official US ambassador residence to host a party who are not just random people. These are people connected to the Convoy movement, the right-wing media personalities. These are people who have spent years pushing against Canadian institutions, the media, Canadian courts, and basically the way of life of Canadians. And then, Pete Hoekstra wants us to believe that's normal diplomacy? I mean, come on, I can see foreign interference when it's happening. And it's pretty clear to me from the guest list that this is not just a regular 4th of July barbecue. Now, on my channel, I don't usually cover these kind of topics because I focus on the cross-border stuff. But I kind of felt like I needed to make this video, at least to make the GTL community aware. There are plenty of other Canadian content creators that cover this stuff. But when it comes to Pete Hoekstra, I feel like I need to say something. And I really wish our Canadian media was as blunt and to the point as the media in the Netherlands. If you haven't checked out this clip from the Netherlands and their media, let me play it for you, and they're ruthless, in a good way.
I've expressed my regrets, and I've expressed an apology.
So you're still sticking to that original remark. You're regretting the newsy remarks, but not the
So that
original
we're going
remarks.
to recall, sorry.
Any example of a Dutch politician who is burned recent years?
We go to Bonnie. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning.
This is not how this works, guys. Come on.
This is the Netherlands. You have to answer questions.
Please.
This is not how it works.
We keep answering the questions.
No, you
Please
didn't.
go
You
to
didn't
Bonnie.
answer mine.
Or Ilko's.
Didn't answer his question, didn't answer his question.
If we don't have any further questions, then we can
We
move
do.
on.
No,
Okay, I'm asking Bonnie to.
You can clearly see how uncomfortable he is. I mean, I think that's what our Canadian media should do. I feel that our Canadian media is too passive. I mean, look, if you saw the video, he looks like a scared little kid. Compared to now when he's in Canada and the guy thinks he's like the shit. Which is why he's able to go have a 4th of July barbecue with a whole bunch of far-right activists and right-wing media, and nobody's going to question him. So today I'm going to go over an article from the, PressProgress, and give everyone an idea of what Pete Hoekstra was up to on the 4th of July. On our Canadian soil, I might add. So let's get started. Now, like always, I'll read it out for anyone that's just listening or for those that are visually impaired. The United States Ambassador to Canada celebrated the America 250th anniversary by welcoming Canadian far-right activists, right-wing alternative media personalities, and other questionable characters into his house. Questionable characters. I think he means traitors. Pete Hoekstra, President Taco Tuesday's controversial and abrasive envoy to Canada, hosted an American Embassy 4th of July party this weekend at his official residence in Ottawa's Tony Rockcliffe Park neighborhood. Hoekstra's party, which reportedly struggled to find A-list guests willing to RSVP, was largely snubbed by other diplomats, had faced questions in the lead-up to July 4th about possible low attendance. Oh no, are we all shocked about that? One guest that did make a point to RSVP to Hoekstra's party was Tamara Lich. Lich is best known as one of the main leaders for the Freedom Convoy, a ragtag group of far-right extremists, conspiracy theorists, and anti-vaccine activists that occupied the streets of Canada's national capital for 3 weeks in 2022. Some participants explicitly called for the removal of Canada's democracy-elected government. Lich was convicted of criminal charges last year relating to her involvement in the Freedom Convoy and is currently serving a 12-month house arrest sentence. So yeah, she's a real piece of work. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute, because whenever Pete Hoekstra says that he respects our sovereignty, and you're inviting people like this to a party, someone who openly wants to destroy what we have right now, I'm sorry, Pete, but I don't think anybody's going to believe you that you respect our sovereignty. I mean, you invited somebody that said this about Canada. Let me read the next paragraph, or the last paragraph. It was an honor and a pleasure to attend the 4th of July American Independence Day celebration at the ambassador's residence in Ottawa. I had the opportunity to speak with Ambassador Hoekstra and thank him, the President, and the American people for their heartfelt support through the Freedom Convoy ever since. Now, does this sound like a person that was invited to the barbecue that wants to keep Canada as it is, or have Canada as the 51st state? I'll let the viewers decide on that one, but I think it's pretty obvious. Moving on. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy did not address specific questions about whether or not it was concerned about the optics of the U.S. Ambassador lending support to someone who had been criminally convicted for leading an occupation of Canada's capital city, but instead suggested that Lich had been credited as a journalist. Okay, so she was just invited because she's a quote-unquote journalist, not because she's involved with the Freedom Convoy trying to destroy Canada's democracy. You know, saying journalist as an excuse just makes it look even worse. And I always wonder to myself, like, how would the Netherlands handle this? I know they don't take shit from Pete Hoekstra, but I think this is where the Canadian government is making a mistake. Because we just had a petition with over 27,000 Canadians who signed it, basically saying they want this guy out. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit disappointed. But I do recall seeing a report from Prime Minister Mark Carney saying that he's not going to do anything about Pete Hoekstra. Something along the lines of, we're given the government that we have to work with, or something like that. But let's be honest here. Do you think the people that attended the barbecue are really just there for the barbecue? Do you really think they're there just to talk about hot dogs and sports and maybe monster trucks? I don't know. They're not there to sing Kumbaya. And I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of planning done at these barbecues. Again, Canadians are not stupid. Anyways, moving on. It's not the first time Hoekstra, a former West Michigan Republican congressman, has partied with far-right activists while serving as an ambassador either. In 2020, while serving as U.S. ambassador to the Netherlands, Hoekstra was accused of interfering in Dutch diplomatic politics and violating the Vienna Convention after hosting a pre-campaign event for far-right Forum voor Democratie Party. The FED is an ultra-nationalist, anti-immigrant party loosely associated with the Dutch farmers' protest that served as inspiration to the Canada's Convoy movement. FED founder Thierry Baudet, who introduced Hoekstra at the FED's 2019 Party Congress, advocates mass deportations of immigrants to maintain a white Europe. So, Hoekstra has a history, and the Netherlands, they didn't take his shit, and they basically forced him to leave. And again, I think this is where Canada is making a mistake. Now, what I'm showing you here is the guest list for Pete Hoekstra's barbecue. And I'm not going to read out the names, they don't deserve to have their names read on my channel. But there is a common factor to all these people that are on this list right now. They're pretty much anti-Canada. You can pause right here if you want to read through one by one, but I'm not going to read it out. But what we have right here is a group of people in Canada, Canadian citizens, who want to destroy what we have right now, meeting with someone from the Taco Tuesday administration. Do you really think they're just talking about stuff that you would talk at a barbecue? No, I don't think so at all. Now let me move on to this next part. Many of the media personalities in attendance also secured one-on-one interviews with Hoekstra, suggesting one way that the ambassador may be using Canada's right-wing alternative media ecosystem to bypass critical media coverage. The event was also attended by several MPs from PP's Conservatives, including Jamal Giovanni, Andrew Lawton, Dean Allison, Shelby Cramp-Newman, Jacob Mantle, Richard Bragdon, John Williams, and Leanne Rood. Liberal MPs Rob Oliphant and Caroline DesRochiers were also in attendance. What the hell? Seriously? Now, I wanted to read this part out in case any of the viewers that are the Canadian viewers are living in ridings with these MPs. Because if I was living in a riding with one of these MPs, I would be trying to contact them and asking, what are you doing at a barbecue with Pete Hoekstra? So if anybody lives in a riding with these MPs, let us know in the comments below. And for the record, I have been a Conservative voter in the past. Not the last two elections, but in the past. And in fact, I voted Liberal as well as NDP. I'm saying this because I'm not a Conservative basher. Because when I vote for the person that I feel is going to be the best Prime Minister for Canada. Not somebody who's going to be benefiting himself only, or another country. Anyways, let's move on to the last screenshot. U.S. Embassy staff insists none of his guests pose a potential security risk to elected or diplomatic officials at the party, despite some guests holding extreme views. Yeah, they might not be a risk to the U.S. Embassy staff in the United States, but they're a huge potential risk for Canada. One guest identified by PressProgress at Hoekstra's party is associated with a social media account that has written extensively about solar and planetary alignments, suggesting astrological forces are guiding world events and sending encoding signals, warning of an impending judgment day. What the fuck? That guest, who appeared in the photo with Ambassador Hoekstra at the party, has also asserted that the United States is the Great Satan. Okay, well, I don't disagree with that one. The U.S. Embassy told PressProgress it could not comment on the security protocols or explain why the guest in question was invited to the ambassador residence, but noted that invited guests were allowed to bring a +1. The embassy security team managed a safe, secure, and incident-free event, the embassy spokesperson reiterated. Now, what do we think about this barbecue? I mean, if you ask me, this is just my opinion. It was a barbecue full of wackos. But this article from PressProgress, I think it really emphasizes the amount of meddling that's happening from south of us. And at least for me, it reaffirms my belief that Pete Hoekstra's got to go. I know some of the viewers are saying, no, leave Pete Hoekstra in Canada. He's a good reminder of, what we hate in the United States. But to be honest, we don't need Pete Hoekstra on Canadian soil to remind us. Because let's be honest here, how many times do you think Pete Hoekstra has met face-to-face with far-right activists that want to tear apart our country? You don't leave a virus in your body, you get it out. And I know some people are saying that someone worse than Pete Hoekstra might replace him. Well, if that's the case, you get that virus out as well. If you ask me, it's better to do what the Netherlands did. Put pressure on him. Get him out. Because as much as we hate his interviews with like CBC and CTV and stuff, it's annoying. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. And that's what worries me. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you think Pete Hoekstra crossed the line with his barbecue? Or did he cross the line a long time ago for you? I'm curious to hear everybody's comments, so let us know below. To close off this video, I would like to thank my mom for sending me this photo. And this photo is from a fishing trip that my mom and dad went on last, I think 2024 in Cayucit Sound. And if you're not sure what that is in the water, those are sea otters. Personally, I've never seen that many in one location before. I mean, in Burrard Inlet in Vancouver, you might see 1 or 2 here and there, but that's about it. But seeing this many in one location is something that not many people get to see, so I'm very happy to share this with the community. So I want to thank my mom for searching through hundreds of photos of her fishing trip to be able to share this with the community. Alright everyone, I gotta get going. I got a few things I need to do, so this video is a little bit shorter than my normal ones. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international point of view, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all as well. Now, if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.